I'm going to read from Isaiah 40, verse 29 to 31. Yet the strength of those who wait with hope in the Lord will be renewed. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and won't become weary. They will walk and won't grow tired. Today I'm going to be talking about these verses which I have just read out from Isaiah. These are some of my favourite verses because of the promises and hope that God gives us through these. You may or may not know that I am particularly keen on birds of prey. I love those with a large wingspan, and I'm fascinated by their flying methods. So the references to the eagle mean that these verses take on an extra dimension for me. I also love the imagery of animals in the Bible which teaches us so much. For example, in the Old Testament, Job says in chapter 12, verse 7 to 9, "But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds in the sky, and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, or let the fish in the sea inform you." Which of these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? Amazing words. Well, I am sure that most of you will have seen a lecture programme or a video on the internet of birds in the wild, soaring through the air with picturesque surroundings, or even seen people paragliding with a camera attached to their helmet, recording the journey that the birds make. It is truly awesome. While I was reading this familiar verse from Isaiah, which I read again, I read it with fresh eyes. So this time I read it like this. Yet the strength of those who wait with hope in the Lord will be renewed. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and won't become weary. They will walk and won't grow tired. I was struck by the emphasis on the verbs and their reference to the future. The things that these verses are referring to are clearly not obtained immediately. They are promises, something that we can get at some point in the future, but not yet. We are told that those who wait with hope. This is obviously not the same as waiting around for a bus to turn up at the bus station. When we want to catch a bus, we check what time it is expected to turn up and arrive close to the allocated time, waiting in faith for the bus to arrive, and we hope it won't be cancelled. Clearly, waiting on God is not the same or as clear cut as that. We wait for God to say or do something, but we often do not know how or when this will happen. Waiting around for a bus and waiting on God is different. When we wait on God, it should be patiently, expectantly, and with faith that God will keep his promises. Waiting on God requires trust that he will give us everything we need at the right time. For those of us who are parents or carers of children, we know it does not always help if we give the children everything they want on demand. A good parent knows that we need to encourage children to wait for something. Obtaining something immediately can increase our faith, especially if we have just prayed, especially if the answer comes speedily. But speedy answer to prayer is not always faith building. Now, waiting does not come naturally to us as people. It is a skill that we need to learn. Old habits need to be unlearned, especially if we are getting what we want and when we want it. Learning to wait and wait on God is something that comes from spending time reading his word and waiting for him to answer when he is ready. The good news is that God did not say we have to learn to wait by tomorrow. Waiting is an ongoing skill that is learned over time, and as we slowly lean on God, so our faith grows. As we learn to wait, we also learn patience. We live in a world where everything is expected immediately and instantly. Most things are available at a click of the button. We want everything and we want it now. We grumble if we have to wait. But one thing that is certain is that through this lockdown period, we have been forced to be patient. When my children were young, I used to encourage them to save up for pocket money to buy something they wanted. This was a hard lesson for them. One used to ask for a loan up front and ask if he could pay it back. But it was worth the wait, and the joy was all the more special when they were able to purchase the item that they had been saving for. So it is with us. Sometimes waiting means that the reward is more special at the end. Looking at the verses again, those who wait on God will renew their strength. When we feel tired and burnt out, our doctor will probably tell us that we need to rest and maybe take some time off work so that we can get our energy back. God created us and knows how we function. He knows that we cannot possibly work 24/7 and created the Sabbath with the intention that it should be a day of rest with good reason. There is a purpose why God wants us to wait on Him to renew our strength. God knows that we need rest. We need shaping and we need moulding. And in doing that, our hope and our faith will be renewed. It will grow as a result. Waiting on God brings about results and helps us to grow in our relationship with God. So what are the results? They will soar like eagles. I love the imagery of this. Eagles rise not by a continuous flapping of their wings, but by waiting for a thermal, a warm current of air, to lift them off the ground and upwards. If you watch a tawny eagle, as the wind builds, they simply open their wings and wait until it lifts them up, and then they take off, relying on the wind to propel them through the air. I watched a video of an eagle learning how to do this for the first time. There were a few wobbles as the eagle learned to use the wind to help him up. The mother was nearby watching, also resting on the wind, and for her the process looked effortless. We will make mistakes as we wait sometimes, and sometimes we wobble. But God knows this, and He is nearby watching and standing with us. Having watched a lecture programme about birds and the comparison of flying methods between an eagle and a hummingbird is vastly different. Hummingbirds beat their wings 40 times a second. It looks exhausting. On the other hand, an eagle waits patiently, with expectation and trust. I am reminded about the time when my husband's job was coming to an end. At the same time, my hours were being reduced to 6 a week. It was a worrying time for us both. My husband was applying for every single job going in an attempt to get regular work. He always got the interview, but never the job. We had been given reassurance in Jeremiah that God had planned for us, planned to give us hope and a future. But I think we didn't fully trust God, trying to do everything in our own strength and probably flapping at the same time, similar to a hummingbird. When my husband had an interview in Milton Keynes, just before I sent him off on his train journey, we reclaimed that promise. He said it was the easiest interview that he had ever done, and he was offered not just the part-time job advertised, but full-time work with the extra responsibility that he wanted. The job ticked all the boxes that we were looking for. When I think about that interview and I think about eagles soaring, I am reminded of the ease of the interview and the similarity between the two. They will run. They will walk. These words struck me as different. They will. It sounds like that this promise is exclusive to a different group of people. But in actual fact, this is available to all of us. When we read they will run, this can be translated as we will or you will. And we will achieve what God has promised. There are several stories in the Bible about waiting on God, waiting for answers to prayer, waiting for God to speak, though we are not alone in waiting. Abraham waited for a child, and God provided him and his wife Sarah with a son. Joseph had dreamed about accomplishing great things, but had to endure several hardships before this eventually happened. Moses, Caleb and Joshua wandered around the desert trying to find the promised land, and after 40 years they arrived. As a youth, David was chosen to be king, and he was offered the crown at the age of 30. Daniel prayed and prayed and finally reached a breakthrough when the angel said, "God has heard everything you said, ever since the first day when you decided to humble yourself in front of God. I have come in answer to your prayer." Waiting is challenging, particularly when we have to wait a long time. As years go by, it's easy to give up hope, lose faith, and suspect that we heard it wrong or God meant something else. But during this time of waiting on God, often there is something else going on behind the scenes, a refining, a shaping, a moulding of our character, or preparation for what is to come, but we often cannot see it. For those of us who are gardeners, we will know that in order to see a beautiful flower or a vegetable, we first have to plant the seed, water it, pray for sunshine, and wait. During this waiting time, it can often feel like nothing is happening. Nothing could be further from the truth. All the action is taking place below in the soil, where we cannot see it. What would happen if we got impatient and we pulled the plant up before it was ready? We would never see the end result. Maybe we might give up and come back later to find that we had missed the bloom or the vegetables were ruined. Supposing the eagle gave up waiting for a warm current and put his wings down, it would never get into the air and experience that wonderful surge of freedom and exhilaration of soaring higher and higher in wonderful communion with God. Really, waiting is about letting go and letting God take control, allowing him to work in his own time and space, and trusting that he knows best. Time and time again in the Bible, in the examples I have mentioned, plus more, God has shown that he keeps his promises. And although it is clear that some of those promises have taken time, they have been delivered. Like the illustration I gave in the All Age talk about hovering impatiently for the toy to be mended, we need to let go and trust God. I don't know what your situations may be right now, but I know for all of us these last months have been tough times, and it's not over yet. You may be waiting on God for Him to speak to you. You may be praying desperately for answers to prayer. You may be waiting for promises to be delivered. Maybe you have given up on waiting, become uncertain of what God said, and are finding it difficult to hold on and keep believing. I want to assure you that God does deliver. So when God says, we will soar, we will run, we will walk, it will happen. And we just need to wait patiently, with faith and trust in God, who already has it all planned for us. After recent months of fear, anxiety, uncertainty, life is still not what we knew it to be, and may not be for some time. But through Isaiah 40, we know we can have hope and look to the future. God has not forgotten His promises, and we can be certain that one day too, we will soar like eagles. I can't wait. Can you?